Welcome to It's Meaningless. This is the podcast for entrepreneurs within the first 5 years of business who are tired of stuck, and they're ready to stomach the brutal truth. Here we uncover the meaningless daily habits that keep you from protecting and growing in life and in business. This is episode 13. The true benefits of gratitude. So I have a mentor um, via a program I've been a part of for several years, and he talks about this. I guess a time before he ran a business. He um, ran a pretty big construction business for a number of years. But he talks about how he got started, or before he got started, pretty much when he was still working a W-2. Um, and how he, I guess, looking to, excel, looking to move forward in his career. And he got into this time in this space where he was getting these jobs, um, working these jobs for a while, and becoming um, becoming disgruntled. Yeah, yeah, nonplussed with the situation at the job, and he worked there, and then he didn't go into detail, but I pretty much gathered um, that he eventually wound up leaving, and probably on not so good terms. So the thing is that he started noticing, because it's kept happening and happening. It happened multiple times in different jobs, different places. And so what he started to realize was every time he did that, the next job he got was worse than the first. Um, and we talked about that a little bit last time on the podcast episode from last time, which was actually I forgot what it was. We ended with gratitude. The podcast was on prejudgment, and we ended with gratitude, talking about gratitude, which that been as the remedy for the remedy for not being in the situation of prejudging things and missing out on opportunities that like are right in front of us. And so I really felt like this is a really good topic to keep on. So, and however it been Thanksgiving week, uh, it's probably appropriate to continue on this topic. So, um, with this guy, um, effectively with his story, I think that story kind of shows. um, It's a really good picture of how ingratitude, not being grateful, affects us, because the thing that's more evident in this story is the the not so good stewardship of the opportunities that were in front of him. So at the very least, like the not so good stewardship of um, the relationships in the jobs that he had. And it's like, I mean, it's like, first of all, like if you have to leave a place, by all means, like as much as possible, leave on good terms. And like, don't get me wrong, like I've been in situations where it's hard to leave on good terms. Like you can do all you can do, and at the same time, like they're gonna be whatever they're gonna be. So that's a different story, but most situations are not like that. Like the vast majority of situations are not like that. Um, there is a way to leave on good terms. So, which of course, like especially being in certain fields, depending on which fields you work in, field or fields that you work in, the thing I've realized more um, is the longer you work in a particular field, and I've seen this in different with different people in different industries. Um, the world is kind of small. Like people don't. It doesn't seem like it sometimes, but you're more than likely bound to run into somebody again. Um, if you work in a field long enough, that's just you're more than likely bound to do so. Which sounds crazy, but the thing is like if you stay in a field long enough and you get good at it, you become you become yeah, I guess kind of a I guess yeah, you just become good at it. You become better at it. You kind of get skills wise kind of up to the top upper tier. Like the more chance that you're gonna have of running into people that you've been that you've ran into before, because of the fact that not everybody makes it up to that level. Not everyone yeah, not everyone makes it up there. So effectively, um yeah, you want to getting to know all of the people kind of at the top level of your field, and from that and like in that kind of environment, like people talk. So you just never know who you'll run into. So part of it is really taking the time to care for the relationships that we develop uh, with whoever. For this podcast, mainly we're talking about relationships that we develop with clients and employees and business partners. And at the same time, it has been mindful to take care of the relationships that we develop with anybody. Um, and so this idea of taking care of the relationships that we have is what ties into the topic of gratitude, because effectively when we are grateful for what we do have, then it's a lot easier to take care of what we to take care of it. In other words, when we're grateful for it, then we take care of it. We don't it's not a if. Like if I'm grateful for something that I have, then I'm going to take care of it. There's no question about it. So that's why I mentioned that gratitude is the remedy for for a lot of things, and specifically the thing of prejudging, but effectively the remedy for missing out on a lot of the opportunities that we often do miss out on. Um, this actually reminds me of me and dealing with my son. In fact, it's something I'm still in the process of learning now. Uh, it's so easy to focus on, and this is kind of a thing of like familiarity, And like I don't want you to get stuck on the fact that I'm talking about my son, because I think this translates over into just about every area of our lives. But the thing is, it's kind of like when we have this thing of like we become familiar with whatever it is, the job, uh, the client, the business partner, whoever. When we become familiar, it's easy to see. It's easier to see and easier to focus on the things that aren't going the way we want them to. And I don't like this is me 100%. Um, and I see that even right now, like with my son, that it's easy to focus on, oh, you're not doing this right now. Doing this right now, do this. Trust me, if I were to make a list, like, yeah. But the thing is that in truth, a lot of times we can't see it because we're so focused on the things that aren't going right. But in truth, if we were to take a time to make a list of the things that are going right, most cases, like in most cases, in reality, that list is longer and significantly longer than the things that aren't going right. Um, and I don't like I like to say that there's a I don't know like a quick tip for um for not looking at things that way. Um yeah, I like to say that that there is some quick tip for not looking at things that way. But I think to me, maybe it's a part of culture, maybe whatever, but to me it's like part of the human condition. That somehow we are prone to highlighting the negative, more prone to highlighting the negative than to highlighting the positive. Um, and at the same time, I do want to address that, like, I can definitely identify with the thought that um, no, I can't make a list this too long. Like for some of you, I know some somebody was in your mind, some person specific person came to mind for you, and you're like, no, there's no way. And I believe that you believe that. And at the same time, like I said, not necessarily in every case. Um, but I'm gonna be bold and say at least 90% of the time. At least. That's just like that's just gonna let me say at least 90% of the time. And don't get me wrong. Um, I'm not saying that you can make that list of good things that are happening uh, in 5 minutes. I'm not saying you can make it in the same amount of time that you were able to make the list of negatives, which I don't recommend. I don't recommend writing the list of negatives, but like if you want to do pros and cons, then fine. But uh, if you value the relationship, I would focus on the positives. Um, but like for you, like to make that list, it might take you like it may take you 30 days. But part of that thing is it's just retraining our brains. Because like once our brains have gotten stuck, and I do mean stuck on the negative, like it feels almost impossible to bring it back and train it back to the positive. So sometimes, and this is a little a little practical. Like sometimes it's just a matter of like if you take the time to actually write down things that are well, things that are going well, things that you appreciate. Um, Sometimes it can be as simple as just take the time um and write down like one thing. Start with one thing. And sometimes it might that might take you an hour. And that sounds bad. Um, Hopefully it wouldn't take, but sometimes it might. But I will say this: if it did, it'd be worth it. Um, to sit down and start with one thing. If you can get one thing in a day, wait till the next day, try to get another thing down. Do another thing the next day, another thing the next day, maybe the next day you can do two things. The thing is kind of like once you start, it's like a muscle. Uh, you can call it a gratitude muscle. Uh, Once you start kind of exercising it, once you start feeding it, once you start giving it some oxygen, uh, it it starts to develop. You can do more with it. Um, there was a time where, and I may be back to that point. Well, maybe not, not completely, but there was a time where I could do like I'd be struggling to do 10 push-ups in a row. Um, but um, like I've gotten to the place where like I can do 50. Um, Probably not right now. Maybe. No, probably not right now. Probably not right now, but probably got to a place where I could probably do 100 um at one time. The thing is that like what we exercise, we get to use more. What we exercise develops to be able to be of more productivity, production. So yeah. Um, so that's the I guess that's the thing um on gratitude. I think the only other thing I want to say on this is um I guess just to tie this all together. The I guess the biggest benefit that or at least one of the benefits that we miss out on the most as far as gratitude is concerned is like um we just don't see we don't see the future. We don't see the future, we don't know. And at the same time, I think in not seeing the future, we miss out on things that we can be aware of. So like in the example of this guy's story about the multiple jobs, he did not see the correlation between his lack of um taking care of the jobs, the bosses, the relationships that were given to him, and his I guess his advancement, his personal career advancement. He didn't see the relationship between that. And don't get me wrong, it's like if you're just looking at like the things that you can see naturally, how could you? Um, because in other words, like we usually see this topic of gratitude as, oh, if I show gratitude to this person, then this person, that in other words, if I show gratitude to Tom, then Tom is going to, and not necessarily going to, but can give me some. whatever, whatever in return. Um, Tom can open doors for me if Tom sees me later on. And so like, yeah, like that's true in terms of like that's a possibility. Um and like on a yeah, on a in other words, if you're just playing a numbers game, then that's a likelihood. Um that is, if you treat enough people and show gratitude to enough people, then they will come to open doors for you at some point. That's a possibility and it's a likelihood. The thing though that we miss is that technically, I don't know. So the thing we miss is that there really are larger forces at work, and you can call it karma, you can call it whatever you want to call it. At the same time, I've come to realize that opportunities are gifts. In other words, they are given. And the way I've come to understand this is that God, who made people, who cares about people, who is interested in like the continued development and furtherance of people, is very interested in people, that is us, taking care of people. He's very interested in his people being taken care of. So it's like this, like if we get an opportunity to uh, I guess run an ice cream shop and um, where um, yeah, we run the ice cream shop, we do it well. um, Lots of people start to come. um, Lots of people start to come. People say how much they like the ice cream, they like the flavors, they like the service, they like how they're treated, they like the feeling when they come in the door. Like, we even naturally have this idea of knowing that when we treat people well, we don't I think this is the thing we don't think about mentally or explicitly or yeah, explicitly necessarily. But we kind of know. In other words, we don't necessarily exercise this as much um, as is, I guess, as is warranted for the truth that it is. That we know and we understand that um, if we treat if we treat people well, then it's reasonable for us to expect that we can receive other people. In other words, that other people will come to us that we can treat well, that other opportunities will come to us that we can treat well. Like I said, you can call it karma, you can call it whatever you want to call it. At the same time, the principle rings true. Like, we don't get, when we treat people well, when we treat opportunities well, um, it's reasonable to expect at some point um, more opportunities, more people to treat well. In other words, it's like this. I mean, from a practical standpoint, I'm talking about my son. Excuse me. If any of you all have kids, if you have kids or uh, employees or whatever, somebody that reports to you in some kind of way, uh, somebody that you're responsible for. If you were to have effectively, if you were to trust um, an employee with some part of your business, just a small part. In other words, you trust them with, say, they're a salesperson, you trust them with two of your clients. Um, and they did, yeah, effectively, they treated your clients bad. Like, do you think it'd be reasonable for, like, they shouted at your clients, they lost one of them, um, you got multiple complaints from these clients. Um, would you think it'd be reasonable to say, hey, like I have five more clients down here that I need some help with. Can you help me out with those? Like, don't get me wrong. Like, s- some people would probably make that decision, but like, mm, that would be the antithesis of wise, because it's like what what that person did. In other words, what the person did, what that employee did with the two clients, like it's reasonable. Like, if we're gonna project, it's reasonable they're gonna do the same thing with um with the other five clients that you give to them. So in other words, it'd be better off if you have another employee that you gave two clients to, that like they treat your clients well, like those clients call in to tell you how much they appreciate being with this guy. And that's a big deal. Uh, Most people call because they don't like something. So for somebody to call about what they do like, that's a big deal. So those clients call in to say how much they appreciate this guy, how much they appreciate working with you all, how much they like your business as a result, how much they want to do more business with you. It would make way more sense to go to that guy and say, hey, I've got these five clients I need some help with. Give them to him. So the same is true with us. So if we take care of like the clients that we have right now, um, yeah, if we take care of the clients that we have right now and we do it well, if we take care of the business partners, the other relationships that we have right now and we do it well, then it's reasonable for us to expect that we'll be given additional and even better clients, relationships, partners, because we took care of the ones that we have right now. And that is that's a I think that's a very fitting, even for me right now. Like, this is really, really good. Um, it's a reminder to me to take care of the clients, the relationships, um the relationships that I have right now, to do well with what I have right now, because it's so easy to get focused on looking for what's next, like how to get to the next level, that kind of thing, and forget about like doing the job that's already in front of you, doing what's already in front of you, taking care of what's already in your hands. So, yeah, with that, I bid you all a happy Thanksgiving, and I hope for happy Thanksgiving. That this will be a time for you to, um, I guess, renew, hopefully renew, or develop, or learn, or acquire uh, Thanksgiving for you, uh, and that you will see the benefit on the other side of being grateful for the things that you do have. So that's all that we have for today. Take care. See ya.